Hey everybody, Pete Hendrix, Hendrix Classics, and I have something to share that I think is going to be fun. So, one of my hobbies are knives, and I've come across some knives that I think are so cool that we've actually bought some, and we're going to sell them, and we'll also have a particular knife that goes with each launch. So, I want to show you my new favorite knife. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Rosecraft Blades. And now I'm not thinking of the name, but it is my favorite. So you can see here, it's got, those are real or stag handles. And I found a partner here in Georgia who makes these. And the company name is Rosecraft Blades. And Andy, who runs the show, is a knife designer, and he has done some things that he thinks like I do. And so what he has done is he's taken, older slip joint folding knives like your grandpa wore or used or carried, and he's put some modern touches on them. And the reason that these are so exciting to me is because, first off, they're cooler looking, they're more artistic, but there's history. And as shaving enthusiasts, we're all over some history. And so, one of the things I'll be doing is working to select knives that he's done where, like right around the time that the double edged safety razor was invented by Gillette, or during the time when the Fat Boy was king. Until the fairly recent past, there weren't any, all folding knives were slip joint knives. And, that's just how it was. And so, some things that he's done to kind of bring it to the modern day, first off, the blade, these blades are D2 steel, and he's using some other steels now, but these are D2. And for me, I love D2, and these are the king of edge retention. And these just keep an edge for so long. And look at the, if you look at the bottom of this knife, that's all steel, which is very strong. And so what you're looking at here, the bolsters, which is this part here, have been integrated into the liners. So you're seeing three pieces of steel here. I don't know how well the camera will pick it up, but you have the two liners, and they're pretty thick, and then in the middle is the spring. This knife would retail at $80, and that's just so much value for a steel with so much edge retention and true stag scales. And so much improvement in how the manufacturing is done that really ensures that these are, they're not going anywhere. Let me show you some of the ones. I didn't buy stag. I didn't know yet how the community will respond and whether or not they'll buy. The stags are about $80, which is a little bit more expensive. By knife terms, that's not expensive for what you're getting, but money's tight for everybody. A Barlow knife, and this is real stag as well. They're like, if nobody buys them, I'll take the stag. If I could have gotten these knives in time for the launch of Ride 'em Cowboy, most definitely a stag handled knife is what we would have gone with. Barlows are the oldest folding knives known. They go back to about the 1600s, and I haven't been able to verify whether this is correct, but I read that both George Washington and Abraham Lincoln carried Barlow knives. Barlow knives, the big thing with a Barlow knife is how big that bolster is. And back in the day, that big bolster added a lot of strength to the knife. And check out the packaging, it's really nice. So it comes, and those are just nice. Mud Creek Congress. And so Congress knives were really popular in the South for working people. They and back in the day they usually had several blades, but I mean, this is just an awesome, gorgeous knife. So when you look at this one, you see there are green micarta scales and they're rounded, which is really cool. And it has a oh, there's a bunch of different names for all these kind of blades, but this is a really nice blade. You may not have ever had a knife with this style blade. These are really nice. They're nice for when you're doing fine cuts, like for me when I'm cutting leather or something. And also with the cutting edge being straight, they are very easy to sharpen. What he did is he designed these and he has them made in China. And in the knife business, China is really pushing the envelope as far as quality and value you get for the dollar. And, of course, most of us in the community appreciate that it would be nice to have manufacturing jobs here in the U.S. And my thinking on that has changed a little bit. We're a small manufacturer. What we make can be made in the U.S. and be very competitive. Some things can't be made in the U.S. and be competitive, such as the clothing we wear. And so I've come to believe in letting places around the world do the part that they do best, and we do what we do best. And what that explanation leaves out is, what about jobs for all these people who were displaced? And my thinking there is having the jobs go is not so much the problem as when those jobs were allowed to go, nothing was done to help people, kind of reinvent themselves. There should have been a lot more effort for that, and that is where I see the real problem. You know, things have changed where a lot of the manufacturing that used to be here, it's not done the same way it was, and it doesn't create jobs. It creates jobs for robots, even in China. This next one, oh, this is so gorgeous. Buffalo River Jack. Bluebone Jack means a jackknife means that all of the blades, whether it's one blade or many, they all come from one end, like a trapper is a jack. So we open this one. We've got a drop point blade, which is, that's drop point's the most popular, even though I like some of the other ones. But look at that beautiful blue. This will definitely be offered with a set, and the blue will match the label work on this one. I'm just could not be more impressed with the way that he has all the steel here. It's going to make these knives last. And this is just gorgeous. And also, they do a really good job with the, now I can't remember what you call those things. Rosecraft in the knife world is known for this super high quality. And, if I were in the knife business, I just hope I would have figured out what he has. You can see we've got that beautiful green micarta. It's rounded. Fit and finish is awesome. This one has a that might be a spear blade, or it could be a drop point. There is disagreement over what some blades should be called, but it's just gorgeous. And the micarta is an upgrade in a knife handle. On other knives, this part, that green part, are called scales. On slip joints, they're called covers, and those covers are just gorgeous. And so much more so, look, here is a modern knife, and here you have that one. The one in the green micarta is so much cooler looking. And the ones that are non-stag handles, float between roughly $50 and 50 and maybe 65. And what we'll do is we will automatically be selling them for the lowest price we can. They use MAP pricing in the knife industry, which is the minimum advertised price. The point I'm getting to is that don't expect a sale on these. Using the MAP price instead of the suggested retail, that's all the discount already. Just gorgeous. And this is a sheep's foot blade or something thereabouts. And I'm telling you, I just love these blades. And um, starting out, I'm going to offer sharpening at no charge. I don't know how long that will last, but especially with D2, you won't be sending them in that often. This knife is just so gorgeous. This is a loom fixer knife, and the loom fixers were this is a gorgeous knife with so much history and so much to talk about. When you do something for a living full time, like being an artisan, it doesn't have the magic it did back when I was an enthusiast. And so I love shaving. I love the community. What I love more than anything are happy customers. And this is knives are my hobby, and I'd like to share them with folks if the community has interest and buys them. And if not, we'll move on to the next big idea. There are a lot of people who buy one of every knife that Rosecraft comes out with. If you go to YouTube and search on Rosecraft knives, you'll see what I mean. Those are just so gorgeous. Yeah, just so nice. Oh, I didn't show you these cutting paper towel. I was shocked to see that from the factory, each one I tested cuts paper, cuts paper towel. You know, there were none of that was tearing, all of that was cutting. For me, in when I'm working, we're a small manufacturer, categorized as light manufacturing, and most of what I cut during the day is the same thing anybody in an office would, which are going to be straps here and there, and stray strand of fabric from the clothing or whatever. But we have a lot of cardboard to break down. And this knife, so what I love about this is with the finger choil, um, this is not a knife that doesn't fit into my hand. And the one thing you do have to remember, you never on a slip joint knife, you never press on the top. You never do piercing. Uh, you never do piercing, and you never press on the top. So I can still choke up on it. And what I'm pressing on here is the bolster, even though my thumb goes overboard. But what this does, look at the amount of control that gives. This, you all are going to be seeing before too much longer why I'm cutting so much leather. Um, this is just such a gorgeous knife. This is my favorite, and I have some nice ones like Benchmade and Hogue, and um, I have some nice ones. But man, these have captured me because of the history and because of how handsome they are. The modern knives have their advantages too. None of the platforms like are websites on Shopify or PayPal. They don't want you selling knives. And they have rules around it, and the slip joints can usually get by. The modern ones, not so much. Advantage with the slip joints are they're much less threatening, and depending on where you live, that may be an issue. You could still work in an office where you come out with like the your Cold Steel Recon 1, and people are a little concerned about that, and that wouldn't be the case with these slip joints. Also, now some of these slip joints are pretty big, but if you're wearing khakis or slacks, um, the most of these slip joints are not going to overfill that pocket. One thing you may not know, we have a lot of new customers. We don't sell anything if it isn't right, and I test everything that we sell. The only thing that I can think of that we've sold where it's something I wouldn't personally use are certain razor blades. And the there's a lot of difference in preference about razor blades. I don't carry them unless I know other people like them. But other than that, I test everything. If I spend more time with any of these knives and something's not right, it won't be sold. Just like with our, we've just never sold anything I didn't believe in and I didn't personally use and test. And these knives will be the same thing. Let's see. I've been yakking long enough. Thank you very, very much. Bye now.